How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today it's another update video. I'm your host Frenzy, and I want to touch on a few things. Number one, I want to talk about the state with my Pyro 101 content. Why is it I've been doing mostly Pyro 101 content? Number two, why is it that I'm not doing Wizard 101 content? Why is it that I just kind of stopped playing altogether? Number three, variety content. Is it coming soon, or what's going on? And obviously within that time I'll also talk a little bit about myself and my personal experiences thus far. Now let's start with the elephant in the room, which is Pyro 101 content. Why am I doing so much of it? It's because I really just enjoy the game. It's a combination of many things, but at the end of the day I'm just really enjoying the game. And it all started whenever I was doing the Musketeer series, and I remember saying that I was only going to be doing this series as a walkthrough and not do anything else.
So that was a fucking lie.
Jokes aside, it honestly was just the fact that I grew to really love the game a lot the more I kept playing it. So I believe this is during the time once the revived Pyro 101 movement was starting, and again, late to the party like always, I decided doing that with the Privateer Nuzlocke series. That did extremely well, and I'm glad that a lot of you guys really enjoyed it. And after that, we went towards the Swashbuckler series and now the Chaos Lock series, and this also marks a couple days after of the 1-year anniversary of the first Nuzlocke series I've ever done on the Privateer, which honestly, it's crazy to say that we've done so much within that 1 year. We completed our first Nuzlocke, and successfully doing so on the Privateer. We got to Aquila on the Swashbuckler, and for the Chaos Lock series, which is the Witch Doctor random plus automate, which means that I can't control my companions type of Nuzlocke, we actually made it to Aquila as well, at the very beginning of Aquila, and I honestly didn't even expect to make it that far. If you were to ask me, and I was being asked like, oh hey, how far do you actually think you would have made it on the Chaos Lock if you happen to keep very true to the Nuzlocke and just ended it the moment that you lost everyone? If you were to ask me, then I would say that best case scenario, Diomo and Florenza. Worst case scenario, Hydra and Aquila. And that's just really just because, like, in Automate, a lot of companions like to move forward, especially the ones who don't need to move forward like at all. They love to move forward and just do some crazy things that usually gets them killed. And I honestly just have to say that I'm really impressed with the performance, because I did not expect myself to do that well within the Chaos Lock series. Just want to say thank you to everyone who supported the Nuzlocke series after the 1 year. And really, the only reason why I was doing these Nuzlocke series was, again, number one, for content, obviously, but also because I wanted to really showcase the beauty with Pyro 101 content, maybe inspire someone who's either a newer player, a potential newer player, or even a veteran player to, try out Pyro 101. And I actually succeeded in that goal. A lot of people were inspired by my Nuzlocks, and I don't want to brag a little bit too much about it, because obviously it's not just me. Thomas has also inspired many people, and obviously you have Senor Spicy, who has inspired many people and still keeps doing Pirate 101 to this day for the longest of times. And it's very respectable to see one person doing so much for the Pyro 101 community like Senor Spicy. But it's just great to see that more and more people are giving Pyro 101 a chance, and I hope that this trend keeps on going, especially a potential of really good and future updates, because this is a game that I definitely will say I like a lot more than Wiz the more I kept playing it. Now, speaking of Wiz, let's talk about the other elephant in the room as to why is it that I haven't really been making Wiz content. Now, it's a variety of different things. Me personally, I've been seeing a lot more of the really toxic sides of the community, and it just kind of rubs me off the wrong way for the first part. The other reasoning is just because the fact that I just personally lost my will to play the game. I'm kind of just tired out of Wizard 101 in general. Basically, I know this is the game that started off the channel and everything, but I was never really a Wizard 101 main channel. I was always a channel that wanted to be Wizard 101, but also happen to do the variety, because I like playing a multitude of games. I can never really stay in one game for such a long time without getting bored. Now, I would say Pyro 101 might be a little bit of the exception, just because I really just love the combat system. I love strategy games, so like Pyro 101 is definitely in my field of games that I really just genuinely enjoy. Wizard 101, on the other hand, yes, it does have strategy. However, the thing that I dislike about Wizard 101 that a lot of people tend to like, and it's not really an issue with Wiz, it's just the fact that it's not my cup of tea generally, is the simplicity of Wizard 101. Now, I could definitely go on about this for like an hour or so, make multitude of videos of things that I just tend to dislike about Wizard 101, but we're not doing that here. But in terms of just like the simplicity, because the main thing for me that has kind of had me like, maybe it's not really for me, is the fact that the combat is very formulaic. And you go with like an offensive meta and how it's super reliant on offensive metas. Now, obviously, I have never soloed all of the content within Wizard 101. However, even a person that I know of, you know, a very great, you know, Wizard 101 content creator and a great streamer, you know, Ferric, who's I would consider the king of Wizard 101 player versus environment. He even states himself that like Wizard 101, at the end of the day, even with like the super hard bosses, once you find out a strategy, this is basically going to be the only strategy you're going to be using every single time, and not much changes. The biggest advantage that Pyro 101 has over Wizard 101 in terms of combat generally comes from the fact that there's a little bit more depth to it, and also just a little bit more RNG. With Wiz, you crit and chances are you're going to be landing your crits and you're just going to be doing lots of massive damage. Sometimes you don't even need the crits in the first place. You're just going to be doing lots of massive damage from the get-go, because the game generally tends to promote a very big offensive meta. Now, within the new world being Lemuria, which I haven't done, I've been told by many people that they changed it up a little bit to where enemies are now a little bit stronger offensively, so you're kind of forced to do some sort of like defensive stance. But at the end of the day, you know, when it comes towards your strategy, it is still like a very offensive meta, unless you're going against super bosses. Then at that point, it's like try to find a specific formulaic strategy in order for it to like succeed almost every time. Now, I'm not going to say that this doesn't happen with Pyro 101. Pyro 101 also has that issue of being very formulaic as well. The beauty of Pyro 101 though is that's only if you want to do it. If you don't want to do that, you can actually set your, you know, settings to be, again, it's going to be suboptimal, but you can actually set, you know, your companions to be on random, so that you always get like a new set of companions and actually have reasons to level up every single companion, make sure that every companion is up to par with the current world. And it makes battles a little bit more interesting. Still, to an extent, formulaic, but it still gives you some opportunities to try out different things. There's also the advantage of being able to, you know, rock specific gear, because Pyro 101 isn't necessarily a game about stats, it's more of a game about your powers and strategy, which definitely makes it a lot more fun, in my personal opinion. While in Wiz, there's going to be a meta of specific gear because it gives like good damage, good crit, or happens to be like a really good universal. Now, if you wanted to have fun with Wiz, you can actually rock some universal stats. However, the unfortunate part is there's not necessarily good universal stats that you can farm for that is like good for offensive and defensive. Generally, you'll get like a subpar defensive gear that's universal, or you just don't happen to have universal gear at all, unless you're willing to pay a pretty dime in order to get yourself some offensive gear that's universals, where you can actually rock a multitude of amulets. Now, one of my hopes at the time was that like the Rochambeaus were actually going to be implemented to PvE, where we will be able to actually use them in PvE, but also mobs and bosses will be able to use them. It would have made PvE a lot more interesting in my opinion, but the main reason why I think that the developers were super against this idea was because then that will kind of ruin the simplicity of the combat within Wizard 101 that a lot of people actually tend to enjoy. Now, me personally, it's not my cup of tea, but I know for some people, they genuinely really like the fact that Wizard 101 is simple. And honestly, it's not even a bad thing to, you know, be simple. it's just the fact that for me personally, my taste isn't necessarily about something that's super simple. The other thing I want to mention as well is, you know, for example, Lemuria. I haven't even done Lemuria yet, and that's mainly just because I feel like the moment I do Lemuria, I know it's probably going to be a fantastic world. I know I'm probably going to be liking it, but I feel like the moment I do Lemuria, I'm going to realize to myself, like, oh my god, you have to do, you know, a bunch of, you know, different characters to go all the way up to Lemuria. Such like a really big grind, and not only that, but you also have to make sure you get like the best gear right then and there. That's basically all stat based for the most part, and then maybe for endgame content you'll just do PvP, and then you just end up not enjoying it, because at the end of the day, no matter how much you want to flex the fact that you're like a warlord or like an overlord or something, PvP for like Wizard101 just isn't like an actual competitive game. It's not really something that like you should like completely just always show off about, make it like your personality. I just kind of find it annoying. But for me, it's like I'm not really enjoying the game as much. I know I've been ranting for a while, but long story short, not enjoying Wizard101 as much as I used to. Now, does that mean that I'm going to be stopped playing the game altogether? Probably not, because number one, I paid a 1-year subscription for Wiz, so I gotta use it somehow. But it probably does mean that it could be possible that I could be phasing out of the Wiz community. I'm not necessarily 100% sure on that one, but it's possible I may either I may be phasing out of the Wizard101 community, you know, the more time passes on, or I could just possibly be, you know, taking like a really long break and happen to just come back somehow if there's some changes that I just truly enjoy that might just bring me back to the game and be a lot more active than I am now. But honestly, it's kind of sad because like I know that a lot of you guys really do enjoy my Wizard101 content. Some of you might even just subscribe specifically for Wizard101 content. Unfortunately, it's just not something that I necessarily have been enjoying recently, and I rather like give you guys something that's genuine instead of something that is just, oh, I'm doing it for the sake of like, oh, I'm doing it for the sake of like a views, or for the sake of the fact that, you know, to keep, you know, the people who watch me happy. I want to do things that makes me happy, and in turn, if it makes me happy and it's genuine, then it will make others happy knowing that, you know, what I'm enjoying is like genuine, is pretty much what I'm trying to say. But in terms of like variety content as well, pretty much I have made a Google form. I mentioned this in the short, but you guys can vote for possible games that I might be doing for variety. I know for sure that I'll be doing Fire Emblem 3 Houses on Twitch, and I'll be doing Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC on YouTube. And I think both games are like going to be really fun. Again, these are both games that are within my taste. One of them is like strategy with really good story. The other one is like really good story that's very fun. It's like kind of like a Devil May Cry game at this point for Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's just like a really fun game. You know, it's a game that I've been, you know, enjoying, of a series that I've been enjoying for like a really long time, and just truly enjoy overall. And I think it's gonna be fun. I hope you guys, you know, will still be there, you know, once I start doing more variety content and stuff like that. But other than that, really, I guess that's really all I have to say for the most part. The other thing might just be like, you guys might be wondering as to how I'm doing. I actually did get accepted to the university that I've been wanting to go to since high school, which is amazing. I'll be starting next semester, and also with the new job's been pretty good overall, and obviously getting a better pay, so hopefully that better pay helps me out a ton when it comes towards paying for courses. And also the fact that really school as of currently with my community college has been going just fine. Looks like I could be possibly succeeding this course, but we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully there's some more cool stuff coming along the way, but other than that, I'll leave it here. I've been rambling for way too much. I took up too much of your time, and if you made it through the very end of this video, just make sure to leave a like, because it seems like you guys enjoy it if you just like to see me ramble for like 24 hours. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. We have a lot more content coming along the way. Maybe sometime in the future I'll make more videos. Obviously I need to focus more on school at the meantime, so that's gonna be the big and main thing. And Really, if you want to stay up to date with any kind of content, you know, you can either follow me on Twitter, or even check my community tab, because I always make sure to keep you guys up to date with things that are going to be happening in the future. As always, have a great night, have a great day wherever you are in the world, and always remember to stay frenzy. Peace.